Hello and welcome to the Stringer podcast number 33. It's the end of the year. It's the end of 2018. Soon we'll see 2019. Well, depending on when you're listening to this, it might already be 2019. We thought we'd end things off a little bit differently. We have a bit of a treat for you. If you call a treat having no guest. I guess you guys are just stuck with us. That was Dylan's joke. He said it a minute ago and I stole it.
I have no material now.
No guest this week. Instead, we decided to count down the top 10 moments so far. Well, Dylan's top 10 moments so far. So all hate mail goes to Dylan.
Send it straight to me.
As we were thinking through this, we spent way too much time trying to figure out how we're going to intro each of these people. Like we're going to talk about it a little bit, talk about what we liked with the guest, and then we're going to go into the story, or that's what we think is going to happen. And I'm like, no, there has to be, we have to have a piece of music. Or we have to have like a sound effect. Or how are people going to know? Because if I'm talking like right now and then I'm talking on the clip of an old podcast, how are they going to know which one is which? And we spent probably 30 or 45 minutes in my office trying to find the perfect piece of music. Instead, we brainstormed a bunch of our favorite sound effects from like 80s, 90s, 2000s. And Dylan, you're just going to randomly draw one out of the hat each time.
I hold all the power here.
Exactly. My favorite one could come out first. We don't know. But you're going to get treated to a whole whack of our favorite sound effects from movies, TV shows, video games. We'll see how this goes. It could work terribly. This could be a horrible idea, but we won't know. So as I already said, it's a new year. And kicking off the new year, we have a brand new big weekend for you. It's the first one of 2019. There's not a lot of great things to do in January, period, because it's cold and it's wet. And most of us are still like either full or hungover from the holidays. But we got a couple cool things. Like on Friday, January 4th, we have Ben Kunder and Joe Vickers at 6 p.m. at the Painted Lady, tidy little pub out in the West End, 218 Ossington Street. And this is the whole reason why I picked this. I read the description, and it said, get cozy for an evening of ballading troubadours, singing about the triumphs and tragedies of everyday life. I have never seen ballading troubadours used together in the same sentence, in the same paragraph. So go see a couple of ballading troubadours, Ben Kunder and Joe Vickers, 6 p.m. Painted Lady. If you want to check it out, you can go to facebook.com/Ben Kunder Music. That's Kunder is his last name, Ben Kunder Music, and you can find out more about the show. Saturday, January 6th. That's a lie. Saturday, January 5th, Killer Bee Cinema presents Starman and 3 Dev Adam, 8 p.m. The Imperial Pub. That's 54 Dundas Street East. One of my favorite drinking joints in the city. They're doing it on the main floor in the back room. A lot of people who are comedy fans in the city would remember that they used to do kind of open mic night on Mondays in that back room. I loved it. I'd go most Mondays, and I was seriously sad when they stopped it. But $5 gets you in to see a double feature, Starman in the Atomic Rulers of the World and 3 Dev Adam. These two will not disappoint. They are like classic B cinema, but it looks awesome. Super criminals are planning to infiltrate Earth with mass nuclear destruction. Only Starman can defend civilization by thwarting evil with his special weapons and power. We don't know what these weapons of power is, but he is the only man that can save them. The other movie, 3 Dev Adam, this one's really interesting because you like the Marvel movies, right, Dill?
Oh, of course.
You like the Captain America series?
That's Marvel.
Civil War, like all the Avengers.
All of them.
You dig the new Spider-Man?
Spider-Man's good.
Let's go back to the 70s here. 3 Dev Adam is a Turkish film, a.k.a. 3 Giant Men, a.k.a. Captain America and Santo versus Spider-Man. I shit you not. Listed in the credits is Stan Lee as a creator of this film. It's a cult superhero film where Captain America and Santo, whoever Santo is, he looks like a wrestler, are called to Istanbul on a special mission to stop the villainous Spider-Man and his criminal gang.
Villainous
Spider-Man.
Whoa.
In the 70s, he went bad.
What a twist.
Created by Stan Lee. It's going to be subtitled, I'm guessing, because it's a Turkish cult film, but I'm totally down. $5, double feature, Imperial Pub, Saturday, January 5th, 8 p.m. Then on Sunday, I've seen this one pop up a few times, and I knew I had to add it to the list at some point. Champions of Magic. It's a magic show, Dill. 2 p.m. No balloons, though. Champions of Magic, the UK's largest touring magic show, features 5 of the world's finest magicians. Witness stunning illusions, including disappearances, teleportation, levitation, and a heart-stopping finale that sees one performer walk through the spinning steel blades of a giant industrial fan. All presented with lighting and pyrotechnics to rival the biggest arena productions. You know what this reminds me of? What was that movie? You know, the one...
Now You See Me?
Now You See Me. Woody Harrelson's
Yes.
in it, right? It's all the magicians.
Jesse
Eisenberg, that's right. They all kind of get together. They're like a super magician troupe. If you were to see the poster from this, it reminds me exactly like Now You See Me, except you don't have to go for the theater to this one, Dill. All you got to do is go to SeatGiant.com, look at the listings for January 6th, or look up Champions of Magic. Use promo code STRINGER and save yourself a couple bucks off your tickets to a magic show. So check it out. Looks like a good time. First weekend of 2019. Remember, if you don't like our ideas, it's totally cool. I get it. You can do one of 2 things to fix this. You can either reach out to us with events that you have coming up, and we'll happily promote it. You can find us on Twitter at Stringer Podcast, or you can email us events@thestringer.ca, or you can just go to SeatGiant.com and find something that you like better. Just do it. Just pick something. Take control of your life. Concerts, sporting events, theater, live shows, comedy, SeatGiant.com has it all, regardless of what town you're in, big or small throughout North America. Remember, use promo code STRINGER, and you'll be able to save yourself a couple dollars off whatever tickets you decide to buy. So we introed the show. We said there's no guest. We went through the first big weekend of 2019. You kind of screwed me on this last part.
Oh, how's that?
We generally now, as you know, you've been here long enough, we cut to my favorite instrument. We cut to the saxophone. And last week on the podcast, do you remember what you said?
This might be the last sax of 2018.
You said it was the last sax. You didn't say it might be the last sax.
Damn it.
And in fact, that's not correct. That is actually completely not correct, because we even discussed on the podcast the fact that this one's coming out Monday.
Drop the ball.
So since Dylan said no more sax in 2018, you guys, you get the Tetris music. What's different? Okay, I'll start.
Have we started?
Yeah, we started.
So the podcast?
Last night's episode.
Wait, are we
Riker? Yeah, we're going.
This is it?
Yeah. This is how we start.
We started talking about Star Trek. Well, we started already?
Okay. It's a soft start. Right? It's always a soft start. We're always. If you listen to the podcast before, you know it's always a soft start.
Dude, are we recording?
Oh yeah, we're going.
Oh, I didn't know we were recording.
We're not rolling. Are we rolling yet?
It's a soft start. It's a bit of a rolling start.
What, this?
So yeah, we're already going.
I haven't started yet.
Seattle, it's a soft start.
Okay.
Because the last thing we want is, hello, and welcome to the Stringer Podcast. We have Gavin Day joining us. What's the first rule to radio, Taylor?
Mics are always hot.
Mics are always hot. You didn't want it to happen to you. That's why you did it. You didn't want it to happen to you.
Sorry, are we recording right now?
That was fun. You put that together?
Yes.
That was good. It's like all the times I trick people. I don't really trick them. Like, we have microphones in front of our hands, or right now, they're on, like, really short stands sitting on a tabletop.
You just walk in, you never know.
You get casual, you get comfortable, offer people a drink. The mics, Dylan, are always hot.
Always.
It's the best of so far episode of the Stringer Podcast. And as I mentioned in the intro, Dylan has mercilessly selected his 10 favorite moments that have occurred in the first 32 episodes of the Stringer Podcast. And we're going to count them down for you because it's New Year's Eve. Countdowns are kind of like the theme of the day. Everyone likes a good top 10. So, Dill, I'm worried. I'm worried.
You always got to put some trust in me, right?
What's number 10?
So I'm not. This is going to be tough because what's worse, 10 or not being on the list at all?
Oh, 10, I think. Because if you're not on the list, like we could completely forget who we're missing. Right? Maybe some listeners have come in like halfway through the year. Maybe they just joined for like Tessa Bonhomme last week. Right? They might not know who was here, and the people we're not going to introduce them to right now.
All right. Well, here's my apparently made an enemy of number 10, Dwayne Watson, talking about some great music time in his career.
Sweet's got number 10?
Sweet is at 10.
Is this the Michael or the Janet Jackson talk?
Janet Jackson is in this story here that we're about to hear.
Oh, okay. Well, no, he made the list.
He's on the list.
We got to give it to him. And to get us in, Dill, we have this really nice Argos Championship hat to draw how we're going to intro this and get in and get out of this story. So this anecdote will be introed by
lightsabers.
Yes!
So I started with Sony Music, and I was doing like more promotion, and like I was doing with the DJs and radio stations and whatnot. And then I evolved to marketing, where basically I was responsible for like, what was my first record? I'm trying to remember. I don't think it was anything great.
It'll be like some massive album. He's like, I don't think it's anything great.
No. And my first record was, I mean, like I can remember like one of the I worked the last Rage Against the Machine record, which was kind of like a big deal because, well, we didn't know it was going to be the last one at the time, but that was like one of my first I worked like a lot of like black music hit because I knew all that stuff, right? So it's like we started doing other stuff, and I got the Rage record, and like they had been away for a while, and we did a private show with the Phoenix Concert Theater.
One of my favorite venues in Toronto.
Right.
Still,
so seeing Rage in there was kind of crazy, right? And those guys were like super chill and super cool. Number one record, yada, yada, yada. They broke up. So that was a big deal for me. But I think like, so basically my responsibility was to like, okay, when do they come to town? What are they doing when they come to town? What advertising am I buying? What rate am I buying? Am I doing like a 5-way contest to see them live in LA for Coachella or something like that? So basically I was responsible for the project.
Crazy.
I worked on a lot of cool stuff, a lot of fun projects, and I worked at Sony and EMI, and I kind of got brought back to both sides. Mm-hmm. Alice in Chains, Snoop Dogg, Lenny Kravitz, Katy Perry's first couple records. Yeah, I did a bunch of stuff, man.
What did that industry unearth? What did you learn there about the industry that you're like, oh, this is, and I mean it in a positive way. I don't mean it in a negative way. When you kind of get to peek behind the curtain and see the wizard for who he is.
It's funny because when you're in it, you watch shows differently. Like I think it's kind of how we do sports, right? Mm-hmm. So like if you go to a concert, you're in the back in the corner with the other industry guys like just talking. You're not really watching the show. Right. And I remember one show, Ice Cube was performing at the Warehouse. And my friend's a big fan of Ice Cube. And
me too.
We said, fuck it. We're going to go. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, please do.
I was just sure.
Yeah, I earned the explicit tag on this goddamn podcast.
We went to the front and pushed to the front, and we were like, it's losing our minds. But you don't do that because you kind of don't become a fan anymore, which is one of the things I was kind of happy to get out of because it's more like work. You're not saying, oh my God, this song's amazing. You get that, but it's like, okay, like how far is this song going to go? Is this good enough? What's the hit going to be? Where's that going to go? So you take it and you ingest it differently. We have a big thing when meeting people we look up to or respect or appreciate. People are not as good. More often than not, they're not as great as you think they are. And meeting them in different environments differs. So I met Janet Jackson. I wasn't working the record as a meet and greet after a show. Mm-hmm. So everyone came in, we had like a platinum record for her, and it's like a line of people. And it's like, hey, Janet, this is Clay. And she'd shake her hand, put her hand back in her pocket. Hey, this is Dwayne. And then you noticed every time she'd keep putting her hand back in her pocket like she was wiping her hand. And I was like, oh, that's not cool. Whatever, right? So whatever. That wasn't a big deal. It's like, hey, whatever. But then I was working another record with her, 3 days, third day, we're in the Windsor Arms. We're going upstairs to do I think we had to sign some stuff, whatever, right? It's me, her, and a bodyguard. And we're in the elevator, and she taps him on the shoulder. So I'm on one side, she's on one side. Mm-hmm. And then he stands between her and the corner. So she's behind him.
Yeah.
And you're corner, and it's just the three of us. And it's like, I've worked with you for 3 days. It's not like I'm not a fan, I'm not a random person. And now you want your security guard to like be a buffer between us?
Really?
Yeah,
I don't
really?
need anything signed. I'm not going to try to cause a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, so it's like, but then some people are like super amazing. Like
Chill.
Lenny Kravitz was like super, it was the launch of his record, and he had everyone from all different territories around the world came to his house in South Beach, and he played the new record, and I don't smoke, not that I care. And he offered everyone something to smoke to kind of get in the mood, whatever.
Yeah.
And then after the record was done, after we heard the record, he booked it like the hottest club in South Beach, and we all went to go chill. And basically so buses were going, he had a Kiss pinball machine in his studio, and me and him were playing and talking, just like regular, super amazingly cool, chill guy.
Aw, sweet. You know what my favorite part of that conversation was? Is the part where he's like, I don't smoke, not that I care. Like, it was just so chill, but just so there. It was so present. It was like an understated joke. I love Dwayne.
Dwayne's great. That clip might be called Name Drop, because that was...
I know everyone. You know what? I was thinking during it, first of all, I started laughing during Janet Jackson's bitch move, and I almost choked on my coffee. Usually we don't have... we have a bottle of water here just in case my mouth gets dry, but I have literally surrounded myself with every drink that could be in the fridge. I have some leftover eggnog, I have a juice box, I have a coffee going, and I have a bottle of water. And Janet pulls the bitch move where she keeps wiping her hand off in her pocket, and I forgot about that, and I started laughing and almost died on my coffee. Right, and that would have been the end of the top 10.
Just end at 10.
Dwayne
would be 1.
He would be number 1, and you be vindicated. The funny thing about that is that he might have been your number 10, but the lightsabers were my number 1. That was my very first sound effect that I had written on the list, and so it's like a balance of the force.
There we go.
We just have balance. We're good. So Dwayne Watson, number 10, talking about his time in the music industry, I realized that I'm 6 degrees of separation? That's I have 2 degrees to Janet Jackson. And Lenny Kravitz. It's pretty incredible.
They're right there.
I'm going to call them up.
I don't know if you want that separation from Janet Jackson after that story.
I know, she's not going to like me very much. I don't think we'd be pals. Okay, number 10, Dwayne Watson. What do we get with number 9? I kind of like the walk down memory lane. I do. But I think not until I hit 5 am I going to feel really comfortable about counting down.
All right. Number 9. Released on October 11th, 2017.
Way back playback.
Jeff Garriock's Run-In with the Moroccan Police.
Oh, this is good. I don't want to spoil... I don't know. Am I spoiling it if it's already out there? Oh, this is hilarious, though. And it's all over one piece of machinery, which I guess we'll find out why they gave him so much shit at the airport. Okay, Jeff Garriock's up next. We're going to hear him come in... How?
We got from downtown NBA Jam.
From downtown! Got interrogated at a different time by the Moroccan secret police. That was fun. Because
what do they call the Moroccan secret police in Morocco?
The acronym is DGSN. I don't know what it stands for.
Sounds like camera gear, actually.
It's the new DGSN.
Totally. I mounted it on my camera last night. I'm going to test it this weekend. I hear it goes up to 350 frames per second.
Oh, yeah. You got to shoot 350 on the DGSN. But no, we...
Crystal clear. 8K.
It was a drone thing. It was 2014 when still nobody knew what to do with drones. And we had gotten permission from the government. I had a thing that said DJI Phantom 2 flying camera, and I had permission. I had sign off. I had the stamp. And in Morocco, the first language is French, and the second language is Arabic. And you heard my French earlier. You know exactly how much.
This is why our French lessons are so important. We're starting a new podcast starting next week. It's French Lessons by English Canadians. Yeah. Sign up.
You'll learn your numbers, and you'll learn how to explain, I have permission for this drone. But anyway, they would just their strategy was to tell me in French that I couldn't have it, and then when I responded in my pathetic French to get another guy who also didn't speak English in, and eventually it was me and 6 guys in this room at 2:00 in the morning, and I was like, I have permission, and finally a guy comes in and he made this motion with his hand like a helicopter. He's like, it's not for this kind of camera, and he makes a motion like he's got a shoulder mount, and he's like, it's for this kind of camera. We're taking it. You can have it back when you leave, but it's going in this locker. And so they kept it I was like, at least I can have it back. Fine. So they kept it.
Wow.
And they charged me $150 for them to babysit it for a week.
And spend like hours of my time in a room with 6 guys who none of them understood English.
I thought it was going to be me in the locker, and I'm glad it at least went that way.
I kind of thought they would like throw it on the ground and shoot it in front of you. Like, this is what we do. And I don't know why they have that accent.
That's the accent of the angry airport person, regardless of where you are, I think.
From downtown.
Oh, Jeff. You know what's funny about that one? First of all, I wish no one would be interested in it, but I wish I could do like director's commentary or like the voice of what's going through my brain, because I remember that conversation really, really well. And I remember it because it was at the end of a day where I had done 3. I had sat down, we recorded 3 podcasts in a single day, and talking for 3 hours might sound easy, especially after the holidays where you've probably just done it like 8 hours a day every single day. But my brain was so tired, and the DGSN or whatever joke, I'm like, please just buy me a minute here so that I can get to the next thing, so I have enough time to think. It's just the first thing that came out of my mouth.
I think it was good.
It was all right. It worked.
You passed by.
I think Garriock really carried that one. It ended up being, I remember 2017, one of our most listened to podcasts. And I'm thanking Garriock for it, because clearly all I did was show up. The poor dude. And he had all the great stories. So Jeff Garriock, number 9. Dwayne Watson,
9.
number 10. Jeff Garriock, number 9. Number 8?
Number 8 is our friend, Caroline Schved.
Schveddy got 8?
Schved's at 8.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. What part? We laughed a lot during that one.
This one's about pronunciation of her last name. Hopefully I got it okay.
Oh, I never get it. Poor girl. I don't remember. I look forward to listening.
Well,
I don't
we're
remember the story.
reminiscing.
No, what's funny, though, with Caroline is forever, and I was just texting with her today, I call her CZ all the time, which makes 0 sense, but it was because I didn't realize how her last name was spelled. I didn't realize the S was first. And so from like when we started working together, I always called her CZ. And then I realized one day, and I was like, oh my God, your last name doesn't even start with a Z. She's like, no. I'm like, why didn't you correct me? And she's like, I thought it was kind of cool. I kind of liked it. So coming at number 8, Clay and CZ. And we're going to intro it by giving you
the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
If you were to spell it the way it sounds, it'd be Schfed. Schfed.
Schved.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, that we still say SCH.
Yeah.
Because that's ch.
It's so
really.
But
In our head, it makes sense. SCH. We're like, oh, we know what sound that makes.
Funny story. When I played soccer at West Virginia, I think this was my junior year, so my 3rd year, my coach before the game would write all of like the starting lineup on a whiteboard. And I looked at the midfield because I played holding center mid, and she wrote SVD. And I'm like, oh my God, is that a play? Like an acronym for a play that I didn't study up on. Like we usually get set pieces. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm going through my sheet and I'm like, where is this? Because it's obviously for my position. And then she's talking to us and like announcing the starting 11. And she goes, and Sved, you're playing your regular holding midfielder position. I'm like, oh my God, there's not even a vowel in there. Like,
no.
She didn't even care to put like SVD.
Sved. I got in high school, I got one mistype on my name when they posted the hockey roster, and they wrote it Hansley instead of Hansler, and I was Hansley for 4 years. In high school, I don't keep in touch with many people from high school, but I imagine if I saw anyone from high school, it would be Hansley right away. It would be the first thing out of their mouth, because it just got posted on that like first day, and it just stuck. SVD. If there was a soccer play, like that was the SVD.
Oh my God. What would that stand for? I don't even know.
No, I'm going to say it's a defensive play.
Okay.
That like you're on the defensive side of the ball. It's kind of like the opposite of the flying V. You know, the flying V from Mighty Ducks. Yeah. But what you do is you kind of form a cone, and so you trap the player in the middle of the field.
Oh my God.
And then you surround them with your tallest center defenders, and then they can't hit it over them.
When you're saying that, I'm already thinking why teams haven't even started doing it yet. And maybe once they listen to this podcast, they'll be like, we need to implement the SVD in our,
like,
our
right
style
away.
of play.
Greg Vanny of Toronto FC is like, oh my goodness, We haven't thought it. Basically, it's the new parking the bus.
Yeah.
Right. You know, there was parking the bus. You stick 10 guys in the box and one guy like floating way up high. This is we call it the SVD, and you just kind of lure them into the middle of the park.
You're welcome, Greg.
He has to rename it the Caroline.
Yeah.
Like we all know it as the SVD, but he'll have to rename it the Caroline.
Or Shved. That's what usually
Shved.
Shved. Once you can get it down.
What are some of the worst ways people have butchered your last name?
You know what? It was funny. I was just about to tell you this. When I was also at West Virginia and they were announcing starting lineups, I think we were playing South Florida, and they were announcing the starting lineups.
USF?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. What?
No, you were playing against them.
Yeah.
Don't
Well,
cheer for them.
I almost went there, right? So like,
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know
It was
that.
between the Gators, USF, Connecticut, and the Mountaineers. I picked WV.
You had a couple options now, didn't you?
Yeah. But I chose Mountaineers because they're close to home. So yeah,
Were they? Yeah.
family, right?
So you were about to play USF.
And they're announcing our starting 11, and they're saying everyone's first and last name. Then you take a step forward, you wave, do your thing, and they go, Caroline. And then I step back, and my whole team starts laughing, and I'm like, just at least try. Like, you didn't even try. I just my parents named me Caroline. Like, it was just hilarious.
I would think if you couldn't handle it, like, you just take it the Z altogether, right? You just go Swed.
Yeah,
like,
got that.
Really,
Got
if
that.
you just get rid of the Z, it's a little less confusing, and at least you get points for trying.
And while I was in the U.S., they don't say Z, they say Z.
They say Z.
So when I first got there, you spell your last name SZWED, and they look at you like you have three heads.
SC.
Yeah, and then OSZ. When I came back here, I had to get back in the habit of saying Z because I feel like it's more common to say Z here. So yeah, it was just it's a wild ride with this last name of mine.
Caroline. Dill, you missed my countdown from 10 there. You really... I didn't even know. We're just ending. It's just over. Imagine our countdown episode is the one that I just fucking mail it in and take it right off. I'm like, meh, we're good. I did a whole year of this. There's 32 episodes. What's number 33 to anybody?
Already started for New Year's. It's fine.
Caroline coming in at number 8. She's such a sweetheart. She, I remember, I think 2 weeks ago now, whatever, it was right before the holidays, right before the Christmas break, and she posted on Instagram just this great little message. She's like, oh, it's my last day of work before the Christmas break, before the new year, and I just want to thank everyone for their support. And that's just the kind of human being she is. It comes from the purest, kindest, fullest heart you'll ever meet. And I'm so happy for her every time anything good happens. Like, she gets to go on a trip for work, or she covers Raw, or she gets to walk down the ramp for one of the WWE events, or whatever, because she's someone who works her butt off, but has the best attitude of anyone I've had the pleasure of working with. And that's mean to say, but everyone else. She's like a caricature of a nice person. Like, that's how nice she is. She's like an exaggerated view of an exaggerated version of a nice person, but that's just who she is, and that's who her parents raised her to be. I absolutely love Caroline. Okay, but you put her in number 8.
At 8.
No, ruthless. All right,
Tough business.
Number 7.
Number 7, Emily Agard with her run-in with Taylor Hawkins.
Foo Fighters made number 7.
Foo Fighters are at 7.
I guess this is the Emily Agard clip, but to me, it's the Foo Fighters clip. You put Foo Fighters at 7. You're just mad because you weren't there. Like, you weren't. Wait a second. You weren't there for Dwayne. You weren't there for Garriock. You weren't there for Caroline. You weren't there.
Shit, he's figured out my process.
All right. How are we going to get into Emily Agard at number 7?
I think we have to go back to the future.
Oh, number 7, really? It didn't get number 1? Great Scott.
Remember the show MOD on Much Music?
Yeah.
So my brother surprised me with tickets in the audience when Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins were on it. And it was on like a commercial break. Cut to 16-year-old Emily in the audience. Panting and like sweat. Oh my God. Taylor Hawkins and Dave Grohl are literally steps away.
Here.
Yeah. Shaking. Commercial break. They're walking around, signing autographs, doing whatever. My brother, Taylor Hawkins, is walking past us and he goes, Taylor, man, like she is your biggest fan. Like she started drumming because of you. Like she loves you. Taylor turns around and was like, come here. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, oh shit, like I read an article that said that you don't hug people, so like, what do I do? And he went in.
Stuck your hand out. We're very firm.
You just go to make out. Must have make out.
No, but he hugged me, and we took a great photo. Took a photo of Dave Grohl, and that was probably a huge highlight of life.
Of life.
Incredible.
Of life.
Do you still have that photo of you and Taylor?
I do.
And are we allowed to post it on
Yeah,
Instagram when this goes live?
You can. I have 2 photos with him.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and it's actually quite funny because the floor director...
It's not funny, it's amazing.
You're
Let's
not
be
allowed
honest.
to take photos technically in
Right.
the studio, and the floor director specifically like, don't take out your cameras or your phones or whatever. And obviously I was like, fuck this. Like, I really want to... like, I'm meeting Taylor Hawkins.
Don't get in my way.
Yeah, I'm meeting Taylor Hawkins. Like, Taylor Hawkins is hugging me right now.
Yeah.
We're going to take a photo.
Yeah.
And so my brother's taking the photo.
Clearly
and
he's into it.
right behind is the floor director doing this.
that's
Like, give me the
That's
phone.
enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give me the phone. So
Tough
I will.
shit.
Yeah.
Didn't get the phone.
Yeah, didn't get the phone.
You drove in from Brampton.
Listen.
Do they even know the kind of people that come
It
out
was
of
a
Brampton?
road trip.
Right. You don't mess.
We're street.
We're street. That's how you ended it. That's amazing. That made me really miss Greg Veerman. I love that guy. We got to get him back in.
Definitely.
Can that be a plan for 2019?
Absolutely.
We'll bring Greg back in.
Greg back into the podcast.
Maybe we'll get him. I don't know. I'll ask him, see what he wants to do. Maybe he'll co-host a couple, or maybe he'll just be a guest, and I'll get to interview him.
I'm sure he's got tons of stories.
Champagne Boy stories.
Champagne boys.
Oh my goodness, Greg Veerman. So there you go. Emily Agard, Foo Fighters, Greg Veerman. I don't know how that made number 7, Dill, because it's got a whole whack of awesomeness in it, and we laughed a lot, and Emily swore. But hey, whatever. You're the producer here, Mr. Producer. What do we got next?
Number 6 is Laura Armstrong's trip down an airport escalator
Oh, in Utah?
in Utah.
Oh my goodness. Utah is such a weird city. If you ever visit, I think that's what we were talking about at the time, is it's just a strange place if you're ever there. This one's good. I love Laura. She's another one we have to have everyone back. That's the plan for 2019. Have everyone back. How are we getting into this one, Del?
I think it's very simple. You just have to do a little brand.
I mean, I didn't travel that much for TFC.
Yeah.
I did for like the playoffs, and I expect that'll happen again. I did Salt Lake for TFC this year, the beginning of the year.
I
opener.
remember that. Yeah.
That was cold.
It was
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous out there.
Cold.
Weird as fuck, that city.
Yeah, it is super weird. When I was getting in, and there were these like Mormon young women who had obviously just come back from a mission.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it was not obvious to me, other than the fact that they were greeting each other, and it seemed like they'd been gone for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those airports where you go down 2 escalators to get to the baggage claim. So I get on the escalator, and I'm coming from 2 weeks at spring training, so I'm already I'm towards the end of my trip, so I'm probably looking pretty bad at that point. And there's like a crowd, and I'm not
Like,
really
give a shit
paying
meters and
attention.
all-time
like
low.
real leggings, like ball cap, sunglasses situation. But I look down, and I'm not really paying attention at this time, but there's like 100 people, and they have balloons and like signs and like whatever. And then these women get on the escalator behind me, and like I'm right at the top. They're like 2 steps behind me, and everybody starts cheering for them. And I'm
And you
just
take a
like,
bow.
I was just like, I need to get off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I am not done. And like, it was one of those things where I just like, I didn't know what to do, and like I didn't know what face to make. So I considered turning around because I didn't want to
Get out of the way and let
I
them
was
pass.
can you guys go? Like, congratulations on the, I'm sure, very worthwhile work that you just did. I probably had too much to drink in Florida last night,
And then everything gets way more confusing too. You're like, oh, I feel terrible. Why are these people yelling? Is it for me? Why am I here?
Yeah.
What city am I in? Do they think I converted?
Well, that's the
Am
thing.
I supposed to? Do I have to sign up to be a Mormon when I get to the bottom of the escalator?
I don't know a lot about Mormon culture, but I did watch a lot of Sister Wives. I do watch a lot of TLC. So, I don't know, what the case is. So I was just like, get me off this escalator. I've never wanted to be off something more in my
More than the escalator
than that
in Salt Lake
Just
City.
because I wanted them to have their due, and I really felt like I was the girl who was just in shambles in the way of
Yeah.
like this fantastic celebration that was happening. If I ever do something that merits like 100 people coming to the airport to welcome me,
Yeah.
I will be pretty impressed with myself, and I won't want some like mess of a human getting in the way of that.
My favorite part about that clip, it like when she referred to it, what she knows about Mormon culture as sister wives. For me, that's like saying, I don't know how to be a mechanic, but I really like the Fast and the Furious, which tells me absolutely nothing.
I'm not a doctor, but I watched ER.
But I watched ER. It's like your granny shifting, not double clutching like you should, Dominic Toretto. I don't even know I know what a double clutch is. Yes, that's my favorite part of dear Laura Armstrong, who came in at numbers. You still put her at the bottom half of the pile, but it's cool. She'll forgive you.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there. I'm right, aren't I? We'll see. We'll see as we count down the top 5. I'm more comfortable now, actually, as we get to the top 5, because it's just like, oh, hey, it's our 5 greatest moments, like favorite moments of the greatest moments. Does that mean to say greatest? I don't know. You can judge if they're greatest. I find them pretty damn funny. You've done a good job so far. Okay, let's count them from 10. We have Dwayne. Then we had
Jeff Garriock.
Then number 8 was Caroline Schved. Number 7 is Emily Agard. Number 6 is Laura Armstrong. I'm not going to be able to count down from 10 this whole time. I should have brought a pen in with me.
Don't worry, I have a list.
Yeah, you have the ultimate list. Who do we have at number 5, Del?
Number 5, we have to go all the way back to December 24th, 2018.
December 20... Oh my... That was like last week.
That might have been last week.
You did Tessa?
Tessa Benah.
Were you here for this one?
I was. I'm here. I am top 5.
So Dylan makes top 5 with Tessa Benum. This might be an hour long. Like, Dylan may have just picked the whole damn podcast because everything with Tessa was gold. I can't believe it took me so long to be able to get in a room and catch up with her. But this whole thing was great. What was... I guess we'll find out. Okay, I won't spoil it. We're going to have a great moment for you because it's one of our top damn 5 great moments of 2018 or of the podcast so far. I'm not going to get the name right. Dill, how are we introducing it?
Sega.
Oh, really? Like the system?
The system.
Not a lot of people know this, but the cigars were actually purchased by my sister and my cousin Ryan. And they...
I was wondering, I'm like, how loud am I going to be with this laugh? No, that's amazing.
Even better.
That's incredible.
They called a cigar shop the morning of the Olympic final and was like, hey, I'm looking for cigars. My sister's playing in the Olympic final for Team Canada. We want, not like the big, fat, heavy cigars that you see old men smoking. We want like a legit badass cigar. She wanted this cool cigar, not too big, but thick enough to realize it's a cigar. And the guy was like, yeah, we got those in here. Come pick them up. And she's like, the thing is, we're out all day. Can you have a delivery boy deliver them? So the guy got his son to deliver 2 boxes of cigars with a cigar clipper and 2 lighters to my sister in his backpack on his bike on the corner of the road right outside of the rink and exchanged money. So she did a cigar deal before coming into the rink. And I had no idea. And so after we won...
And clippers didn't get picked up by a metal detector? Clearly not.
They let her in. So after we won, I get back in the locker room going to grab a beer, and I see that there's 2 boxes of cigars in my stall. And I had no idea my sister had done this. And I see there's 2 boxes of cigars in my stall. And I was a party coordinator on the team. I always organized our social gatherings and made sure everybody was
It's a responsible thing to do.
Yeah.
I think
being
there
from
always has to be
Sudbury,
someone.
I felt like I had the most practice. And that's why I went to Ohio State. And so I'm like, oh, sick. They're putting me in charge of these. Like, of course they would. Why wouldn't they give these to me? But I had no idea how to light a cigar. I'd never lit one. I didn't know what the cigar chopper was. And so I have the box and I turn around and who's there? Stephen Harper. And he's like, oh, would you look at that? I'm like, oh, Mr. Prime Minister, did you want one? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay.
Can you just,
and then I'm like,
watch him. You don't ask him what to do. You watch him for a second.
Well, no,
like,
he
okay,
grabbed it, or I grabbed one, and I go to hand it to him, and he looks at me, and I'm like, I'm not going to lie, I have no idea what I'm doing. And he was like, all right, let me show you. And he did. And he showed me how to clip it, and he showed me how to light it. And he was like, here, you can have that one. And I was like, no way, thanks, man. So that was my moment. I remember being like, this is so cool. And I was like, guys, who wants a cigar? I know how to do it now. And for the most part, no one really I don't know who enjoys a cigar. So half the time they weren't even lit. Like when we were out on the ice, no one's cigars.
You
were
just
lit.
like gumming it.
Yeah.
You're like, it's a thing in my mouth. Look at me. Badass.
Big time. And the other part about that story that I love is that all throughout the week, the month actually, our tournament goes the entire month. I had seen people with these really cool Canada Shutter Shade glasses.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where'd you get those? Everyone's like, this store. I'd go, sold out. I'm like, man, I'm going to have to pay someone like $100 to get those glasses. This sucks. So what I did was every game, I would take, before going to Vancouver, I had packed up a bunch of old beat up practice sticks. And I asked my trainer if we could bring them. And he said, sure. And before every game at the pregame skate, I would get all the girls to sign the stick. After the game, I'd go and grab the stick and give it away to some kid. And I figured that was just some cool thing, another way to draw in another fan to, love and follow women's hockey forever. And, so on the final game, I was like, I'm going to pick someone real awesome to give this to, some kid that's just decked out. And I'm standing on the line waiting to get my medal, and I'm hugging Wick, and she's telling me, she's like, you have no idea how amazing this is. Like, winning gold is tough. Defending gold is tougher, but winning gold and defending gold on home soil is damn near impossible, and we just did it. And as she's talking to me, I'm looking behind the U.S. bench, and I'm taking in what she's saying.
Yeah.
And there's a man there with the glasses on, like putting his arm up in the air, cheering me on, and his wife's clapping next to him, and I'm looking at him, and I like kind of push Wick away, and I'm like, yo, your glasses, I want them. And his wife looks at him, takes them off his face, and hucks them over. They land into the U.S. bench, and so Mark Johnson, a U.S. coach, he had recruited me to Wisconsin, which I respectfully declined. I'm like, yo, can you grab those for me? And he's like, kind of gives me the side eye. He's like, sure. Passes me the glasses. So I'm like, thank you. I'm like, 1 second. So I went back to the bench, got the signed stick. Some poor kid didn't get it. I ended up giving it to the guy because I felt bad. But then those glasses became notorious because it was me with those stupid glasses on, a cigar, a beer, and like shooting the guns. And I remember waking up the next morning feeling not very great.
No.
And my great grandmother, who was 95 at the time, Ukrainian, came over and she called me and she goes, Tasa, it's Baba Couch. And my teammates love her. So we're all like in our lounge, just like trying to Wolfpack McDonald's, right? Just trying to feel better. And so I have her on speaker and everyone sits up and her word is the law. Like what she says goes. And she would always call me after every game and let me know what she thought about who played well and whatnot. And everyone would listen. And she's like, Tasa, it's Baba Couch. I'm like, oh, hi, Baba. And she's like, oh, I saw you on the news. I saw your picture with the glasses. And I'm like, oh, did you? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, so? She's like, I just wanted to say. And we're all like, oh, man, we're in so much trouble. Baba Couch is going to kill us. She's going to rip into us here. And she goes, good for you.
The story behind one of the greatest Canadian pictures of our lifetime. That's amazing. That's such a great one to pick. The funny thing, though, about choosing an interview from a week ago is the fact that like when you're watching your favorite movie, I am reciting the lines as I'm going. Like I remember my next line because it just happened. And in all fairness to Dylan, we did have the conversation. Like when we knew we were going to do this show, we asked the question, like, how recent can we go? Like, are we going to go right till the end of the year? And I just like very simple logic. And simple logic to me is like, well, it's the best of up until that moment, so we might as well include everything up until that moment. And honestly, I'm glad that Tessa made it. Like, what a great story. What a great human being. And what a great grandmother. Isn't that kind of badass?
It's amazing.
Amazing. It's great. All right, that was number 5. I'm feeling good, though. We've rounded the bend. Everyone's great now. They're in the top half. What do you got for me at 4?
Number 4. So if we went from the one that came out last week, for number 4, we're going all the way back to episode number 1. Akil Augustine's Running with Michael Che.
Oh, this is great. This is at Danforth, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. This story is amazing. I keep saying we got to get everyone back in here again. Akil is someone I'd love to catch up with, but that story was so good, and I had a chance to be at the friggin' show, and I didn't take it, which still breaks my heart to this day. So Akil Augustine coming in at number 4. How are we introducing it, Dill?
I cannot imitate this one, but it is Donald Duck.
He's one of my favorites.
I'm
Well, the story goes like this. My homegirl hit me up. She's like, I got extra tickets. Someone bailed. You want to go see Michael Che? I'm like, what? Yeah, I want to go see
Of course I want to see
And
Michael
it's at the
Che.
Danforth Music Hall, which is literally across from my house. Like, I could turn around the corner, hit McDonald's, get a McDouble, and then walk right into that place, which I don't do.
Yeah, I was going to say, you eat McDoubles and look like that.
No, I don't. I don't eat McDoubles. But no, so I get there, and I'm in the back, because, you know, we didn't have the best seats. So I'm in the back of the bottom section of the Danforth Music Hall, and Michael Che commences to do his bit. He's there with Cypher Sounds, big time DJ producer in the hip hop game, but also a budding comedian. So him and Cypher Sounds are doing their bit back and forth, and then Michael Che gets into his routine. But the whole start of his routine, he tried to do like a little Toronto thing, but he's making fun of Rob Ford a lot.
Oh.
And I'm like, and I'm sitting there.
It's a little dated.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, like, I'm not the biggest Rob Ford fan, but you don't roast a dead man.
No.
Right? Or maybe you do, I don't know, but probably like some grievance time in between. But I was pretty sure he didn't know Rob Ford was dead. You know me.
Which is a great conversation opener.
Yeah, I'm not known as a tongue biter, so I just stand up and I yell, Rob Ford's dead. And
The place goes quiet.
everybody shuts up. And you should have seen the look on Michael Che's face. So Michael Che's like,
He's probably trying to read the situation.
Yeah.
Like, are you his buddy or what? I don't want to say buddy,
but Cypher Sounds cuts in and just looks at him and goes, yeah, dude, I didn't want to interrupt your set, but yeah, he's dead. And then he's like, oh. But he recovers well. He does a couple more jokes, but like he kind of like backs off the whole Rob Ford thing. And then the kicker, he goes, all right, white man, thank you so much, white man in the back. I'm like, what? He just called me a white man? So I let it sit on me for like 2 seconds. My homegirl sitting beside me just dying. And I go, I'm not taking this. So I stand up again. I go, I'm black. And then he was on at this point. He's like, well, I have never, ever heard anyone yell, I'm black so passionately in a room full of white people. First off, are you even black? What's your name? And I go, Akil. He goes, oh, yeah. Both his parents are black. Then he calls me up to the front of the stage, and I guess he orders like a bottle of aged whiskey, and he gives myself and actually the other guy he was heckling with was Jawad Rathor, huge Raptors fan, Fortress man, property developer here in the city. He sits me and my homegirl beside Jawad, front row, and commences to serve us the whiskey, and I get to go up and kind of make IG stories and interact with him on stage, and it was just an amazing night.
The best part about that, I think, was the fact that I had Donald Duck in my head the whole time. And so when he's going off and he's like, I'm black, all I could hear was Donald Duck's voice, like, explaining to Michael Che who he is and what his name is. Oh, Akil, he made the top 10. We went all the way back and he came in number 4. Might I add, one that you weren't there for. No. So you did, like, you weren't completely partial. You were kind of nice to some of the early episodes. Let's see if I can do this. 10 is Dwayne. This is like a test for myself. 9 is Garyok. 8 is Shved. 7 is Laura.
No.
Oh, I got it wrong.
Emily Egg.
Oh, 7 was, yeah, what a mistake that was. She should have been way higher on the list. 7 was Emily. 6 was Laura. Then 5 was the one we heard before Akil, which is Tessa. And then number 4 is Akil.
Got it.
I didn't get it. I screwed one of them up. Okay. We're in the final 3 now.
Top 3.
Top 3 with the bronze medal. Are we doing medals? Is that what we're doing? Are we
Do I have
giving?
to mail them out? Is that my job?
Poor Dylan. He's been mailing like gifts out. Not only do you have all your family gifts because it was the holiday time, but right leading up until we were off work, we had the Mike on Much podcast came out, and we did a bunch of gifting for that. And the week before that, we had Kevin Briones, and so we had all the gifting for that. Are you sick of going to the post office still?
No, I'm a regular at Canada Post now, so it's great.
Do they have reward miles or reward points?
I do not think
Imagine you got a point for every mile that your parcel's traveled. So if you send a parcel like to Vancouver, you get 2,000 points for that. but if you send it to Montreal, you only get like, I don't know, whatever it is, 250. We should bring this to them. 2019. This is a new resolution. Like, so we've got a couple going here. One is to invite everyone back and talk to all my old friends. But we also have to bring this new reward plan to Canada Post. All right, top 3. Who's got the bronze? We're giving them bronze medals. Or we're giving them medals. Who's got the bronze medal?
For the bronze is Gloria Howe. Oh, sorry, Lauren Howe. Lauren Howe.
When she went to Cuba and she took on an alternate persona, like she had a different personality. Oh, this one's funny. This one's great. And introducing Gloria / Lauren Howe, what's the sound effect, dare I ask?
I think we have to go to the Batmobile.
So I've come to discover that I think I'm sure I have a Latina alter ego named Gloria. It's not a past life thing.
No.
It is like, this is turned on at times.
She's living in me now.
And that's a sentence a woman has hard time saying, and I should really think through things sometimes. But it kind of evolved. She is so woke right now.
So woke.
So woke. And
so glad I threw that in there. It was like my word of the week, and I finally got to use it.
It's not like it's written on the giant board beside us.
You weren't supposed to tell me. I can't see it.
So at Miss Universe, they separate you into 3 different groups. One is, I believe it's Africa and Asia. Another one is Europe. And then you have the Americas. So let's break down which countries are a part of the Americas. You have all of South America, all of Central America, the United States, and then little lonely pasty Lauren in Canada. Oh, it's true. It's true.
The Great White North represent.
The Great White North is the color of my skin tone.
How many? So how big was your group? You said 93 contestants.
93 total, and I feel like it was roughly, let's say,
31?
Roughly even. So let's say it was 30-something girls per group. So I love Spanish-speaking countries. I like languages too. So I'm fluent in French, but I pick up a little bit of Spanish because of it. And I have, we were joking about this earlier, is when you have the accent, when you say some Spanish sentences, people think you speak Spanish, and then they just like let her rip.
They unload on you because I think they're encouraged. Right? If you see someone from out of town who's made the effort to use your language, you're like, oh, this is incredible. Now I can tell them all the secrets of the city.
Totally.
Unfortunately, we don't understand the rest of the language.
I mean, right. So just like the 5 sentences, that's all I need to get by, and then I walk away from a conversation. But nope. Instead, I nod there and smile and just go, see, until they look confused, and I go, no. And if they still look confused, I just walk away.
Hi! And you just storm off.
Exactly.
Throw your hands in the air. They get the point.
Yeah, that could go either way, right? So being, like, I always love that. Do a little bit of Spanish, like, hablo muy poquito español, like good enough. Like, soy Lauren, donde es Canadá, like, da-da-da. And so at Miss Universe, we got moved to our groups, and that's who you spend a lot of time with during rehearsals. So, and my roommate was Carmen. I say Carmen as if it's like, Carmen, right?
Yeah, Carmen. Come on, Carmen.
My roommate was Dominican Republic.
Oh,
and
incredible.
She's fluent in English, but we would always do these live streams as a joke because whenever I went on her live stream on her social channels, they'd be like, say something in Spanish. I'd be like, hola, ¿cómo estás? Oh, bien. And then people would lose their mind. They'd be like, oh my God, Miss Canada can speak Spanish.
She's so funny.
Yeah. And then I would walk away.
And scene.
So fast forward. So basically, hanging around like a ton of like Latinas and Portuguese, and it's so much fun. Then a few months later, in February this year, I had a photo shoot down in Havana. And Havana. Yeah. I gotta stop doing that. I forget people are gonna hear this. So we're going about doing our photo shoot, and like catcalling's more of a thing there. In Canada, if somebody catcalls me, I just I get awkward, or I try to be like, oh my God, who's calling me?
Yeah.
And you pick up your phone.
Why are you doing this? Although it's acceptable if we chase you across the street,
then I'll engage in conversation.
You just don't want to be yelled at from across the street.
Well, I just don't know what to do.
It's confusing being a guy, okay? We got all these rules to follow.
I'm not even being a guy. Like, I don't know what to do. Is like, I feel like the teenager who's just discovering how to speak to the other sex. I'm like,
Lauren.
You too.
¿Cómo estoy?
Hey, lady, you look beautiful. I'm like, you too. I think someone said something to me the other day. He was walking his dogs and he's like, oh, you're so beautiful, or something, like whatever. And I was like, oh my God, your dog is gorgeous. And I didn't realize how rude that was back.
Yeah. Remember the thing I said about having to compliment someone back? You did it too.
Yeah, but I realized,
but
then I panic and then I'm like, oh, your dog. Oh, so are you. And then I'm like, I got to get out of this conversation. Like,
so you're being catcalled in Havana.
So I get catcalled in Havana and we're wearing, like, it's like a bridal shoot. So I'm wearing this massive wedding gown. Actually,
congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All 32 of the outfits I tried on and the respective husbands I ran away from.
All 33 of them. The one you ended up getting married in blue jeans and a white button-up shirt. It's amazing.
Exactly. So anyway, so I get catcalled in Havana. I'm walking down the street. Instead of awkward, normal Lauren Howe doing her thing as what she would do in Canada,
I can see this.
Gloria comes out. And Gloria, it's like somebody had been teaching me earlier different things, being like, papi, and like things like that.
That's not how you tell people off, by the way. I hope they told you that.
But I know. Oh, I know. It was very much made aware to me. But that's where Gloria came in, is suddenly this like confident. I can't decide what country Gloria is from yet, but I want to say Colombia just for Modern Family for the sake of it. But Gloria comes out and she just walks by. Literally, I did a 360 turn in heels in front of this group of guys I'm like less than a foot away from. And I go, sí, papi, no. And then I walk away.
I wish you could see her face right now.
Yeah.
There's so much attitude.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not just speaking in Spanish.
No,
it's like it's somebody else. But the best part is, as I did it, and then I walked away, and I think like the look on my face, if anybody could have seen it at the time, I paused and I said, I don't know who just took over me. I don't know what happened.
It's a possession. That's what it is.
I mean, sure, like the exorcism of Lauren Howe.
You have to exercise Gloria Howe from Lauren so we can have her back. It's a great movie idea.
Gloria Howe.
Gloria.
Yeah. So anyways, that's the story of Gloria, and she comes out sometimes.
Did you say woke?
I said woke. I was so proud. You saw me. We're sitting across the table from each other. I was so proud when I heard that I said woke, because it's totally not a word I'd usually use. And then you hear me in the podcast be happy for myself because I've been wanting to use it. It had been my word of the week and I had never found a way to use it. So, I'm looking back at July and celebrating clearly myself. Lauren, know what's the funny part about that? She admits to knowing French and not knowing Spanish, but when Gloria possesses Lauren, she was like, "Sí, papi, no." It's like the three words she admitted to knowing in Spanish, and she just did it with a little bit of character behind it, and it made it. I wanted to speak to her in Spanish for the rest of the time. I can see why everyone wants to give her the secrets of the city or whatever the heck I said in the podcast. I catch myself rambling. I two things. I can tell when I'm rambling, trying to get to my next point, and I can also, like, if I'm chuckling too much, it's weird that we have like this inner monitor that's like, oh no, Clay, you're laughing too much for that one. You've heard in a few of these, I have laughs, and then I have these really high giggles, and I don't know where it comes from. That's the possession of Clayton Hansler.
Possession of Clayton Hansler.
Yeah, it's like an 8-year-old schoolgirl.
Wait, Hansley?
Clayton Hansley? No, that's funny too. When that came up in the
that one came up in the Caroline Shred.
Oh, in Caroline Shred, of course. I asked you, I'm like, do I tell the Hansley story here? And you nodded to me because it's been a while since we've heard it. So clearly my brain only thinks one way. And when I get the same triggers the second time around, I think the same way. Okay, so we gave Lauren Howe the bronze medal.
Bronze.
Who's coming in Who's the first place loser, Dylan?
Oh, jeez.
Who did you give the first place loser medal to?
Number 2.
Oh, you have to be so nice about it. You're like, nah, number 2, silver medal winner.
A story that comes from the winner's circle.
Oh, I think I know which one this
It is Matthew Shinetti.
When he splits his pants.
When he splits his pants.
Oh, I don't know why I'm giving it away. I probably shouldn't give it away. This one's really funny, though. Matt and I have been friends for quite some time, and I never knew this story until this moment. How are we getting into it, Dale?
I think Shinetti would have liked to morph into a Power Ranger for this one.
So, March 2013. This is my first road trip for TSN. And it's 150,000 people. There's the infield, and it looks like this enormous space. Well, the winner's circle is like a fraction of that. And so we're, as rights holders, TSN would get the chance to interview the winner. And the winner that year happened to be Jimmy Johnson. So I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. And like, I'm prepared. Like, I'm prepared, but I have no idea where I'm going. My ENG, which stands for
Electronic News Gathering.
There we go. Just for our friends who have no idea what the acronym for saying.
Or if you go, I think funny enough, going on that Arsenal TV, they use like their Eng. They call that something like their Eng feature or something is all the style of footage that Alex and I work on. But they call it their Eng feature from a game. And I'm like, guys.
You lost me an Arsenal fan. This is... Anyways, United fan here. Back to the story. So I'm in the winner's circle for the Daytona 500. It's an exceptionally warm, humid day in South Florida. And we are moving around the winner's circle. I have to get to Jimmy Johnson in case we have a one-on-one because it's going to be Fox, it's going to be international, then it's going to be us. So I'm moving around. There's velvet rope. There's pizza, people, sponsors, confetti, NOS energy drink going in the air. And I duck down underneath, and you can feel your pants on a sweaty day. TMI, stick to your butt and stick to your thighs. And
just
then you
grab on.
Then you just go underneath one velvet rope. You stand up and rip. And you stand up, and it's kind of like you just cut yourself, right? You're just like, oh, that was weird. And I just, all of a sudden, I feel like in a day that I didn't feel the breeze, I felt the breeze. And I'm just like, oh, that's probably just my pants. No big deal, whatever. Yeah. Walk over. And in classic, the ENG operator, Dean, who has been a mentor of mine since I started TSN, he's looking at me, he's talking to me, and I'm like, yeah, and I turn around and I point to Jimmy Johnson, and he's like, whoa! And I'm like, what's up? He's like, your ass is hanging out of your pants. And I'm like, what do you mean my ass is hanging out of my pants? Like, just yelling it. He's like, Maddie, turn around. And I'm like, he's like, I can't help you, man. I can't cover that. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, and he grabs the part of my fabric, which at the top of which was split, and he goes, I'm not going to touch your ass, but it starts here. And he goes, look down, and I could see by just ducking underneath that it had went from my belt loop all the way down my leg and had caught part of my boxer briefs.
I was gonna say, I'm like, most of us wear underwear.
Yeah, but it caught like it. Okay, so maybe full moon isn't, but it's
completely. I got the mental image.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, I'm wearing nothing but a medium-sized golf shirt in the middle of the victory lane, the Daytona 500, with an extra flag now blowing in between my legs.
On your first trip,
on my first major trip for TSN, and now I'm like sweating and nervous and scared as fuck. And so anyway, we're now waiting for Jimmy Johnson, and my camera guy goes, okay, Dean says, stand by me. Don't do anything, just stand by me, and we'll be. And I'm like, okay. So we're waiting, and Jimmy's thanking his sponsors, and then Jimmy's thanking Fox, and Jimmy's thanking sponsor over here, there, 10, 20, 50. His wife and daughter come, and they're, and then a rep comes up to us and says, Mr. Johnson, you still have an interview with Mr. Johnson one-on-one. Could you do it by the Players Lounge? In my head, the first words that wanted to come out were, no,
thank you, but next time.
Before I could say no, she had left. And so Dean looks at me and he goes, well, we're moving. So then think of me waddling half a click towards the Players Lounge. Now that everyone is leaving, and when Daytona, everybody parks their car or trailer in the infield.
Correct.
So I don't know how many people saw part of my ass that day, but it was probably in the tens of thousands. And so we get to the players' lounge, and I'm thinking, okay, there's a wall and the door where I'm like, okay, the embarrassment is over. I can deal with this, no problem. Jimmy Johnson comes out, comes right up, shakes my hand. My butt is to the wall. He can't see anything. And then his wife and daughter come out, and they stand behind me.
No.
So they stand.
Daddy?
They're standing behind me.
What's that?
And I don't remember what I asked Jimmy Johnson. All I remember was turning around and trying to, like, you know,
trying to spare them the
trying
moment.
to spare them the horror.
And then at the same time, you probably in your head, if you were to make eye contact with them, it's bad for you, but it's probably also worse for them. Like, they can probably put up with, oh, this is a really bad thing, honey, look away. But then if the person then tries to at all acknowledge you, then it gets weird. Then it gets creepy. It's like, I've seen your ass, sir.
I have always wondered what Jimmy Johnson and his wife, what their side of the story is. It's like,
That should be our next project we work on.
That's our next essay, Clayton.
Our next essay, it'll be Jimmy Johnson, but then in a side interview
with his wife.
We can find the old footage
of
you interviewing him and say, do you happen to remember what else happened that day?
No, this isn't a "this is your life" moment, Clayton. But anyways, yeah, that's the most embarrassing thing that can happen to you, and that wasn't the first time I'd split my pants.
What a cliffhanger he ends that on. Because he doesn't tell us the other time in that conversation.
No.
He said we'd save it for another discussion when he comes back. The ENG operator, when he's like, look at your pants, and all I can picture is Shinetti like spinning in circles trying to look at his own ass. It makes me think of Bad Boys 2, which is one of my favorite movies ever, when Martin Lawrence's character Marcus accidentally ingests ecstasy, and Will Smith's character's like, Marcus, look at your eyes. He's like, how can I look at my eyes? And he's like rolling them back in his head. And also, I was way wrong in that when I said it's bad for you, but it'd be worse for the family. No, fuck that. It was way worse for Shinetti. I was just trying to be nice, I guess. I was trying to play it off and be like, no, don't. We all have bad experiences. None as bad as that. Poor dude. All right. So we have Lauren with the bronze. We have Matt with the silver. It's time you've been with Dill. You've picked top 10. You must want to give away the top prize.
Oh, well, first prize is coming up, but
what?
I confess I might have another clip for you.
Are you diverting? Is this like an honor ribbon, like, you know, the purple consolation prize ribbon participant, you know, you get for just showing up? Is this another interview?
This I have to confess.
You have to
I have to confess. There's another clip coming.
Are they me? Are we teeing it up with the sound effect?
This is the Clayton Hansler story, brought to you by ICQ.
Here's an embarrassing story. So I went through this phase where I wanted to be like Clayton Michael Knight Hansler. Because I thought it sounded really cool, and you know, I can't come up with my own cool name. I gotta steal David Hasselhoff's name from Knight Rider.
You like Melissa McCarthy?
Yeah, I do. Big time. Like, my love for Melissa McCarthy actually goes back to Gilmore Girls. She was in Gilmore.
You watch Gilmore Girls?
I'm unabashed.
If you're Devil Wears Prada, whatever, like, those people live glamorous lives, but I don't walk around like that on a regular basis.
One of my favorite movies.
Yeah?
Actually, Devil Wears Prada, and I don't know how it became one of my favorite movies. And I know it because I start having dreams where I have been asked to suit up for the team. I think my identifying with punk was to kind of wash the shame away from my first album, my first CD, which was Spice Girls, Spice World. So something you need to know about Candace, and something we bonded over, will embarrassingly say this, but was the story of 4 women and their friendship in New York, known commonly as Sex in the City. I'll admit to that. Did you pick that sound effect just for this, or did you legit just draw it out of the hat?
That was just drawn out of the hat?
It was perfect.
It works. The hat never lies.
Yeah, you know what? I sound a lot more pathetic when you listen to me, like, all bundled into one thing. I'm pretty sad. They're all true, though. Like, they're all honest to God true. Thanks, Dill. Happy New Year to you. This has been great. I'm now really excited for us just to get the gold out of the way so I can go crawl into a corner and die. Who do we have for gold?
This you're got to get excited for this one. You're back and pumped up.
You got to tell me who it is first. Is it more me?
Well, you're...
well, I'm in it. Oh, of course I'm in it. But it's not just me. It's not a super cut of fucking pathetic clay.
And it's not just one guess. Not just two. Well, two guests.
Oh, is this a crossover?
This is a crossover episode.
This is Mike on Much crossover.
Mike on Much crossover.
Oh my goodness!
Featuring Greg Bierman.
Oh, so much good stuff came into this. We played like the first and only game that we've ever played. We played like we one-upped. What do we call it? We like one-upped each other.
Yes and.
Oh, yes and did each other. That's right. With embarrassing stories, there's more embarrassing stories. Ton of great anecdotes from Mike and the gang. Champagne Boys story. Are you going to tee it up, or you don't want to just listen to it?
So, just give you an idea what's coming up in this next clip. There's so many in this episode. The Dustin Diamond story. It's not that one.
So it's not Dustin Diamond.
This is the time where Mike Veerman worked the MMVAs with Vince Carter.
Oh, and Puddle of Mud.
Oh,
this is a good one.
Was there?
This is your favorite one.
This is number one.
Gold medal winner. For the final time, I want another sound effect. Is it a good one? Is it the one that I wanted? There's one that I really wanted.
I think this is the one you wanted.
When I first started at Much, I'd maybe been there like 2 months. I was literally fetching coffee, working 4 hours a day as a unit assistant back then. Now I would just be an intern or whatever, but I was very lucky. And so every year when the MMVAs would start, they would gather a bunch of people in the building, and they'd call them wranglers, as people know in the industry. So it's like a wrangler would be like, okay, so we've got like Maroon 5 or Fall Out Boy or whomever coming through, guests at the MMVAs or nominees, and you would be responsible for getting them around the building because the show takes place in the parking lot and we know the building. That's how the theory goes. So everybody volunteers. The woman that like would like she had the power. She was the gatekeeper that would assign. Her name was Siobhan. She was like an older sassy lady, but like
I got like Siobhan. I hope she was sassy.
Yeah, and I got on her good side like real early because I'd been in this VJ search that Shane mentioned. She kind of had like an affinity for me, so I was like, she was like, "You were gonna wrangle this year?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "This is like the dream." I'm at the MMVAs. Like we're the Hamilton dudes. This is the fucking mecca. So I'm like. I'm a huge NBA fan. Would it be possible for me to wrangle Vince Carter? Oh. And she's like, I'll see what I can do, honey. So I get
a sweetheart.
I get the assignment. I'm getting not only Vince, but I'm getting Jerome Williams. So I'm getting JYD and Vince Carter. I'm doing both of them. They come in. JYD's there first with his wife or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then Vince is coming through, and he's got like 3 of his boys. He's got like a manager and then like 2 of his friends or whatever. Vince is single at the time. And I realize immediately JYD wants to go up to where the food is, and Vince wants to like meet other celebrities. So I immediately am like, I need to split. I can't do them both because they don't really hang out like anybody you work with, right? Mm-hmm. So I end up finding a junior wrangler, like even more junior to me. I'm like, hey, do you want to take on Junkyard Dog? But I felt bad because Junkyard Dog was so nice. He'd arrive first, and I was like, I'm Mike, I'm your wrangler, blah, blah, blah. And the minute I realized...
I'm handing you off.
In a second.
Because I'm a huge Vince Carter fan.
I sold him out so hard. And the look on his face, he immediately knew what was going on, and I felt terrible for JYD. But hey, we all make our choices. So I end up with Vince. We end up hanging out, and this is the year that Kid Rock and Pam Anderson are engaged. And so they're at the MMVA. She's like a Canadian darling. Kid Rock's hot at the time. And they have their own dressing room. So Vince in this episode, or this MMVA's, was to go on stage and dance with Lil Bow Wow. He's going to like bounce a basketball, all this stuff. And so we went to Bow Wow's room. He's like, I want to play video games with Bow Wow. So I take him over to Bow Wow's dressing room. And then and then we do that for a bit. And then Bow Wow's got to go like prep. And he's like, I really want to meet Pam Anderson. Can I do that? And I'm like, yeah, let me like talk to the Wranglers. I'm like, shh. I got Vince here, and he wants to come by and say hi to Pam in her dressing room. And they're like, shh, yeah, come by, check it out. So I go by to her dressing room.
Roger, you got the green light.
Roger, Pam's ready for Vince. So the door is shut, and her Wrangler, my counterpart, is outside of the door. He's like, hey. I'm like, hey. He's like, it's going to take a second. I'm like, okay. I don't know what they're doing in there. Whatever. Who cares? Eventually, Vince and his buddies are like excited to like go in. So eventually the door opens, and I see Kid and I see Pam. I do not go in. The Wranglers stay outside of the dressing room. So Vince and his like dudes go in. Yeah. They're in there for, 5 minutes, and then they come out, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, but like Vince, who's probably at the time like a 25-year-old dude or 26, I don't know what he was at the time, but he's like, They come out and they were giddy teenagers. He was imitating Pam's like chest, like with his hands.
Yeah.
And they were all giggling and like found it so funny. And I was like, these guys are literally like my like idiot buddies. Like we're all the same, you know. The last thing I'll say about Vince, and the story's gone a little bit long, but also that year, do you remember Puddle of Mud? They were performing. So that basketball. So Vince was supposed to go on stage. He did go on stage, dance with Bow Wow. He had a basketball that he like dribbled between his legs, like some Wilson basketball. After they perform on air, we all walk off. I somehow end up holding this basketball. Like, so I've got this kind of like keepsake. His manager, like another manager came around, a woman, she goes, you know, Vince is a really great guy. If you ask him, he'll sign that basketball for you. So I'm like, hey, Vince, I'm a huge fan, blah, blah. He signs this basketball for me. Shit. We end up in the stairwell at 299 Queen Street West, Much Music. It's 5 floors. We're on the 5th floor coming down from like where the VIPs are. We're coming down the stairwell. Puddle of Mud is going up the stairwell toward their dressing room. I'm holding my basketball like a little kid. I'm with Vince Carter. I'm with his dudes. One of the guys from Puddle of Mud pops the ball out of my arm, catches it. They keep walking, and the guy goes, just been punked by Puddle of Mud, yo. And I was like, what the fuck is, I'm like, this like, but I also want the ball. I'm bringing this back to Hamilton. And like out of a fever dream, Vince sees what's going on, that I'm being bullied by Puddle of fucking Mud. And he goes, hey, and everything in the stairwell just stops, and he looks at Puddle of Mud, and he puts his hand up, and he gives like, throw the ball back. And they all sheepishly kind of like, their shoulders sink. They toss the ball back to Vince. Vince hands me the ball, and then I just kind of nod at Puddle of Mud, and then we continue on our way.
Did you feel like the biggest loser ever at that point? Or like cool?
Simultaneously the biggest loser ever, and then also triumphant that Vince was my hero on the playground after getting bullied
your wingman.
by Puddle of Mud. And to this day, I have that basketball signed by Vince Carter.
That's amazing. Dill,
you've been punked by a Puddle of Mud.
You've been punked by Puddle of fucking Mud. That makes it actually, if you look at our first grouping of episodes, if you don't look at it that way, Mike Veerman's been on 3 of them, right? Because this is the 3rd one. Oh. He crossed over with Mike on Much, and then he came back right before the show was released and did a solo one-on-one, and then now he's in Best Of.
Best Of.
As the gold medal winner. That was great. I forgot how much I love that story and how many different layers there were to it, because I knew it was going to be Puddle of Mud in there because that was the part that stuck out. But the whole Pam Anderson bit, the whole JYD bit, and how he just like sold out one of the most beloved Raptors at the time for the most beloved Raptor at the time. Yeah, that was a good one. Well done, Dill. Do you want to, here, I'll let you count down. I've been like stumbling through trying to count these down. So how about you give us like Dylan's definitive top 10?
10, Dwayne Watson. 9, Jeff Garriock. 8, Caroline Schved. 7, Emily Agard. 6, Laura Armstrong. 5, Tessa Bonham. 4, Akil Augustine. 3, Lauren Howe. 2, Matthew Shinetti. 1, Mike on Much.
That's a great group. That really is. Bunch of winners. And for the other 22 that you left out, better luck next year. Remember, you can reach Dylan at dylan@thestringer.ca.
All the guests this year are great.
You can shit on his head for it. Guys, it's been a blast. Happy New Year. Glad to have made it through the year with you. Glad that you've stuck on. I know we've taken a couple weird breaks, and I really appreciate the fact that you're here. Dill, I really appreciate everything you do, because it seems like this seems like fun. Like, ha ha ha, we get to get on the mic and laugh for an hour. But a lot of work goes into this between booking guests, making sure the podcasts are edited and ready to go up afterwards. And I know you take care of that with Luca, obviously. Whenever we do prizing, you're always the one that sends out the prizes. I really appreciate it. Thank you. It's like this is a full-time job, but you only get like a day a week to deal with it. So thanks.
Oh, thank you, Clay. It's great to be a part of it.
So for one last time in 2018, from myself, from Dylan, who does all the technical production, from Charlotte, who helps with a lot of the booking, with Sean, who consults on everything, and I guess we're going to call him a producer. I don't know what we call him. What do we call friend of the show? Sean K, friend of the show. All 32 guests that have been on, please, please, please be good to yourself.
Oh, wait a second. We might have another surprise.
Is this a super cut?
Well, you start with a cut, you got to end with a cut.
This is going to be good. Now, we do one thing to end every podcast, and I think I'm going to try doing this with you.
Okay.
Okay, everyone, please, please, please be good to yourself.
And eat your vegetables.
Eat your vegetables, brother.
And eat your vegetables.
And eat your vegetables.
Stay in the present and eat your vegetables.
That's your cue.
What do I say?
And eat your vegetables.
And eat your vegetables.
And eat your vegetables.
And eat your vegetables.
And guzzle your water.
Oh, this is never going to work.
I had to make up my own one.
I came up with that with you, actually.
I was like, is this his ending?
It's my ending,
You're
completely.
going to do it again for...
Nope.
Because I'm here. Double time.
You want it again?
Yeah, what
So it came from a text message, and I think we were both having a rough week.
Yeah.
And we're going back and forth, and you said, be good to yourself. And I replied,
And eat your vegetables.
Eat your vegetables.